So if you sell digital products online, you may make thumbnails that look like this. Here I've got 12 Christmas, SVG, PNG, EPS, and DXF, and I've got my little digital files all listed on my thumbnail. Looks pretty good. The problem is bad guys come out of the woodwork and they steal digital designs. And I'm going to show you 3 ways in this video that you can protect yourself from these digital thieves. Let's go. Okay, so for the first one, it's the size of your SVG file thumbnail. So here we've got SVG file thumbnails all the way down on Etsy, and we can see this one here. We've got reindeer face. I'm just going to pop that one open, and I'm going to use this one here as an example right next to it, also as a sort of a compare and contrast. So here's the reindeer face one. Now, the problem with this is it's so big that I could simply just click on it and move it into Inkscape, take a vector trace of it, and for all intents and purposes, I've got myself a free vector. I don't need to pay anybody any money, which is a bit frustrating, and I feel bad for this seller. Even if I were to click on this, I could just take a screenshot of that and I can just make a copy, which, like, I'm not obviously advocating that, but the problem is it's really, really easy to do. See how big these are? See how clean these are? So I'm not a huge fan of this. What you want to do instead is make the thumbnails as tiny as possible. Here's another one. It says Christmas SVG bundle. I'm going to pop open this one here with the gray background. And you might think the gray background might be a deterrent, but look at all these thumbnails. These look great, but when I click on them, I can zoom in and look at how clean these are. If I'm a digital thief, I'm drooling now going, well, I can just take copies of these. I don't actually need to pay for them. So I would encourage you to do the minimum size for Etsy, but not much bigger. So here we can see 570 by 456 pixels. That's not a very large file. So let me show you the difference. Here's my palette that I typically use when I make a high quality digital file. I'm just going to go up to image and image size, and we can see that my image size is 4,000 and something pixels by 2,900 pixels. It's a pretty big canvas. I've got 25 centimeters by 18 centimeters. If I flip it over to inches, you can see it's about 10 inches by 7 inches. I'm going to change this now to Etsy's minimum size, which is 570 by 456. I am going to type in constrained proportions so that it makes it not all wonky and stretched, but I'll type in 570, I'll type in 456, so you're going to see the width here is a little bit more. And when I click OK, look at the difference. Look at how tiny this is. The next tip is to offer a watermark up on your thumbnail. And so what'll happen is you'll put stuff, you can see, and it's going to kind of trick the tracing app. So here we can see we've got 3 elves and we've got the name of the store sitting here now. And it's enough probably that if you use a vector tracing program, it would confuse it. I think this one's a bit better. This one's hand lettered, Merry Christmas, and we've got white lines. That's probably better, is to do white lines over top. Here's how you can do it. Now I'm using Photoshop, but you could do this in any graphic design software. It doesn't really matter. Basically what you do is you make a little gray or some sort of text, and then you start putting it over top of your designs. I'm just going to copy this now, and I'm just going to plop it over. You're trying to discourage the automated crafting tool like an Inkscape. Now I admit that does not make your thumbnail look particularly good. However, you need to strike a balance between having it completely easy to see and being easy to steal. So you would tweak this. You might want to make it smaller. You might want to move these around. You might want to create yourself a pattern, and then you just overlay the pattern over top of it. You just want to do enough of a deterrent that the thieves move on to the next shop. So you're just going to, like putting a little rinky-dinky padlock on, you're just going to move on to the next shop. So another type of thumbnail is not the central one where you list all of your designs, but the mock-ups. And if you have a mock-up like this, you can run into trouble because the design is so clear that people will just go to the next thumbnail down and then they'll steal the design off of that. So my third tip is you want to make sure that that t-shirt color is not necessarily white. So changing the color of the shirt to a darker shirt, we still get the idea, and it's not perfect. Again, none of these alone are that great, but the combination of all of them hopefully deters thieves. This is an idea. Then you would put the watermark perhaps just down at the bottom. Maybe something like that. Again, it does make your thumbnail ugly, but you have to do a trade-off between being able to have a great looking thumbnail and having somebody just go, well, that looks so great, I'm just going to steal it. Another option is just to have a little flag come in from the side like this, and it just touches enough of the design that it's impossible now for a digital designer to trace this automatically because it's simply missing. I think this looks a little bit nicer. Again, you are covering some of the thumbnail, the actual image, but you got to live with it if you want to deter thieves. All right, I've got a little bonus tip here. I lied. There's actually 4 tips instead of 3. One thing you can do as well if you're advanced enough using Affinity Photo or Adobe Photoshop or whatever software you're using is you can actually use a filter on your actual digital print. So in this case, I'm going to change my layer from normal to soft light. And what that will do is it will mesh it inside of the fabric. That makes it very difficult for someone to now trace this, especially if the design is much more complicated. This is a pretty simple one, but if I had one with tiny strings and lots of little accoutrements inside of the design, it would make it very tough because now I've got, instead of black, I've got green and dark green, and that makes it harder. Again, it's one more thing to try to fool the robotic thief, if they're using Inkscape or if they're using some sort of Adobe software. So I hope you guys found that helpful. A few tips and tricks there. And I know I'm the big bummer here at Christmas time saying, here, I've got Christmas, and by the way, Santa's going to get robbed because of these digital thieves. So again, feel free, if you've got any more tips for digital thievery, feel free to throw them down in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much for watching. Hit that like button if you found this helpful so it can be shared to more and more people. And let's try to stop the digital bad guys from taking your designs. Thanks a lot for watching, everyone. Take care.